because this law is very vague and expansive, and it basically says that the president can seize power and send in the National Guard if there is a terrorist incident or some other incident. And other incident is not defined. So, you know, and Bush has a history of kind of squeezing a lot out of these kind of vague phrases. But Congress basically gave no oversight to this. Senator Leahy of Vermont did great work. He said this is a law, if we pass this, we could have martial law. It makes no sense to give the president this power. But for instance, with this new law, say for instance, it'd be possible for the president to use the National Guard to suppress it'd be possible for the president to use the Mississippi National Guard to suppress an anti-war demonstration in Boston. Or it'd be possible for him to send the New York National Guard to go down and disarm people in Mississippi if they didn't give up their personal weapons in response to the next Federal Gun Control Act. I mean, this is a huge seismic change. It makes the president more dangerous, and almost nobody in Washington paid attention or gave a damn. Yeah.
I'm John Matfis from Boston. It's always frustrating being a libertarian, as we probably all know. We are all viewed as wackos and crazy and radical and all those kind of things. And then you can come to a group like this, and there are other people who believe in freedom.
Lots of
wackos. Lots of wackos. So it's kind of nice to be in that kind of group. But what can we as individuals, would you suggest we do? I mean, we obviously have a lot of people here, and as single people, we don't really have that much power, but as a united group, do you have any suggestions of what we can do to fight against this ever-encroaching federal government, and what can we as individuals, how can we make changes to this government policy?
You know, there isn't a silver bullet, but it's really great if people get more informed, because I've known a lot of people whose heart was in the right place, but they didn't really have a tight grasp of a lot of the arguments and issues, and so they would not be persuasive. But I mean, you know, have the courage to speak out for your freedom. Have the courage to go out and protest if there's something which you want to protest on. And you know, it doesn't matter if the government's videotaping it. The government can take the videotapes and put them where the sun doesn't shine. People need not to be intimidated by the government. I mean, government is perilous, but people need to hold the ground. And it's been frustrating to me. There are folks I've known for years, and I've seen how they've kind of rolled over for the post 9/11 abuses. And that's there were, you know, and there's so many people who should know better. There's so many people who know the lessons of history and have seen what has happened in other countries when governments would be setting the same kind of precedents. Because, you know, what Bush and his team and what the media tell you to do is look at each abuse in isolation as a single incident. But, you know, this is a trend line. And things, you know, it's sort of like dominoes falling, you know. The news media and the White House says, well, don't worry, that's only one domino. Yet how many others is it knocking down? So have the courage to speak out. You know, it certainly helps to buy books. You know, people ask me, what can people do? I say, buy books. You know, that's the first step. You know, I mean, there are a lot of there are some good groups out there, like Future Freedom Foundation that's kept the flag high. Some of the liberal left groups. I wish I had a better answer on that, because I'm not satisfied with the answer either. So. Okay. Yeah.
Ed Elmer from San Antonio, Texas. I just wanted to offer a historical example for how badly torture can backfire for a powerful regime. My example is a relatively harmless Middle Eastern subversive who ran afoul of his government and probably would still be unknown, except that the government publicly tortured him to death. You've probably heard of this subversive. His name was Jesus Christ.
That's a good point, yeah. There's you know, one other example on the torture. I mean, folks say, well, it wasn't that many people, so on and so forth. But from one perspective, I mean, torture has cost the lives of 500,000 people in the last few years. Because some of the key evidence that the Bush administration got for invading Iraq came from torture. And there was one guy especially who was the key person for providing a link between Saddam and Al-Qaeda. I think I've got that detail right. But it was torture, and this guy had the wonderful confession, and that helped buttress the U.S. going to war against Iraq. And it later turned out that it was total BS. The government should have known it. And now we've got thousands of dead Americans. We've got tens of thousands of maimed Americans. We've got hundreds of thousands of dead Iraqis, thanks in part to torture. So it's a real pleasure to speak to such a fine audience, and I appreciate the chance to catch y'all here.